How you doing? Tim here once again, View from the South Stands, coming to you on Sunday after TFC's game on Saturday against the Houston Dynamo, where the Reds, of course, on a late goal from a Mr. Heart and Soul, Terry Dunfield, secured an away point in Major League Soccer play. Paul Mariner, I think, was rewarded for the right call last night. And what I mean by that is, of course, the most important game, arguably the only important game in the greater scheme of things for Toronto FC between now and the merciful end to the 2012 campaign is coming up in a couple of days against Santos Laguna in the CONCACAF Champions League. So Paul Mariner actually rested some players, and isn't it about time something went right for this team? You know, that the best laid plans actually led to something good rather than something bad taking place. Well, that's exactly how it went down. 4 regulars who usually would be playing didn't play. Frings, because of his yellow card accumulation, which I talked about in the last video, was home in Toronto. Eric Hassley supposedly had back spasms. He stayed home in Toronto as well. Frings will be ready. Hopefully Hassley will be ready by Tuesday, of course. Milos Kosic was also rested, and Ashton Morgan was also rested as well. And just to give you an idea of the makeshift nature of the lineup that Toronto fielded yesterday, the midfield was made up of really only one midfielder, if you really think about it. We had a defender in Aaron Mond. We had a striker in Aaron Wiedemann. We had a striker in Ryan Johnson, playing alongside Mr. Heart and Soul, Terry Dunfield. And Darren O'Dea, of course, had the armband last night, which I thought was a bit interesting as well. I think maybe Dunfield might have deserved it, considering how much of a leader he's been on this team, especially over the last couple of months. Luis Silva started up top with Amiraquai, and it looked lively very early on. He had a couple of chances, one I think in the 4th minute, one around the 12th or the 13th minute, to actually put TFC on the board. He actually was a bright spot in the early part of the game. Jeremy Hall played at right back last night and looked really poor. He got skinned by Kanji just before the first half. And if it wasn't for Freddie Hall, who looked decent again, it might have been 2-0, and it might have been too big of a mountain to climb for Toronto to get something positive on the road in Houston, Texas. The defensive technique simply has to get better. There has to be an upgrade of talent on the back line to continue on from Darren O'Dea. And let's talk about Darren O'Dea for a moment as well. He, of course, captained the club last night. One thing I really was struck watching him last night was how good of a passer of the ball he is. He made a couple of beautiful, like 30-yard cross-field passes where the ball was literally put right to the feet of the TFC midfielder or striker. Just really impressive. And obviously he put Dunfield through for the tying goal as well. And he was smart enough, of course, on a bit of a dead ball play to pick out the one unmarked man, who was, of course, Terry Dunfield. Dunfield, I tweeted last night, I wish we could have found a way to put Terry Dunfield's heart in Julian de Guzman's body and match it up with Julian de Guzman's talent. De Guzman took nights off when he was in Toronto. Terry Dunfield never takes a night off, and what he lacks in skill, he certainly makes up for, in my humble opinion, in heart and determination as well. It's really nice to see how genuinely happy he looks as well when he actually scores a goal. And he scored, of course, the goal against Vancouver to win the game, and of course he also scored the goal last night to get TFC a point on the road. Now let's talk about Mariner for a moment, shall we? A lot of the fan message boards have been alight over the last few days, talking about how TFC has slipped back into a mediocre sort of a run after that little 3-game win streak that they had going. It's now winless in 6, and yes, winless in 6 is indeed very, very poor. But I think one of the things that we have to start taking a look at a little more often is perhaps the big picture. 6 wins or 6 games without a win, I should say, is a valid concern, of course. but it's a small snapshot of what we're actually talking about when we're looking at the big picture. I think one of the things that I've been impressed with under the Paul Mariner regime has been the improvement in the team's performances on the road. They're not tearing up the league on the road, but they're actually, by MLS standards, over the last 9 games, I should say, doing a little better than the league average. In those 9 games, TFC has gotten a result in 5 of them. They've gotten 2 wins, they've gotten 3 draws on the road, and they've gotten 4 losses. Not fabulous, but not bad. If you actually parlay that over a season, you're looking at about maybe 6 road wins? 6 road wins and a decent home record, and guess what? You're in the playoffs in this league. And I'm really liking the fact that at least they're getting the ship right on the road, and they're playing a much more a competitive style of football that gives them a chance of at least getting something on the road. And they're getting something in these road games more often than they've not under Paul Mariner. And that's definitely, I think, something to actually remember. Now, let's get on to the real business, shall we? Because last night was a sideshow. It's a nice result. I'm happy with the road point. I'm happy with the progress the team is making on the road. I'm also happy that TFC actually gambled by resting some star players Saturday night and still got a result. I'm happy with all of those things, but last night was irrelevant compared to what's coming up. The last meaningful game of any consequence for this team this season is coming up 2 days hence at BMO Field against the mighty Santos Laguna, current top Mexican champions. Do not be under any illusions, ladies and gentlemen. Toronto FC has a huge mountain to climb. Getting anything against Santos Laguna is going to be a huge ask. If you remember how strongly they dismantled Toronto in the Champions League semi-final this year. Also, of course, they've been to Toronto before. They played at BMO Field, got a draw, but they've been here, so they have a little more comfort probably coming to Toronto than they would have previously. They're already here. They're already in Toronto. Herculez Gomez was tweeting today and talking a little bit of smack like he does. Really don't like that guy. Respect his talent, but I don't like him as a shit disturber, so to speak. Excuse the language. But they're here, they're getting prepared, and it's going to be a really, really tough ask. A loss in this 3-team group pretty well kills any chance of TFC winning the group, and you've got to win the group, of course, if you remember, to get out of the group stage and into the knockout stages. It's not like last year where TFC could finish second, get into the quarterfinals. Right now, they have to finish first to get into the quarterfinals. A loss at home, you're done. A draw would not be good, but it would still give them a chance of getting a miracle result in Mexico to actually, get through. So it would not be a killer, but it wouldn't be a good thing. A win, possible. I don't want to say unlikely, because they've done it before. They've beaten quality teams from Mexico in this city. Cruz Azul was probably, I think, the best 90 minutes of football I've ever seen any Toronto FC side play. An absolutely fantastic result against a fantastic team. And who knows, we may get that kind of result again on Tuesday. And having players like Hasley hopefully back, Frings definitely back, Milos Kosic well rested and fresh coming back, Darren O'Day bedding in quite nicely is definitely going to help. And the fact that no Mexican club has ever come to Toronto FC and actually left with 3 points, left with a win, is something definitely to be encouraged about. So I'm under no illusions, as I stated off the top, that anything less than a win is going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be exceedingly difficult, but it'll be something really special and something to take from what's been a horrid 2012 campaign in Major League Soccer. Of course, the anomaly that is the CONCACAF Champions League, still seeing Toronto qualify and still seeing Toronto actually succeed. So, hey, one of the beauties of supporting a football team is that there's always another game, there's always another competition, there's always another trophy to strive for. So hope springs eternal, at least in here. Anyways, so that's it. I'll see you guys on the blog on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, win, lose or draw after Santos Laguna. Get your friends out to the game if you haven't done so already. I'm doing so. I'm getting some extra tickets for friends because it's going to be the last meaningful game of any consequence. There's only 4 more games after this one, and there's of course the Canada game in September, so there's only 6 more times you're going to get out to BMO Field this year. Get out there on Tuesday. Come on, you Reds, and let's see if we can get another miracle result in the Champions League. Thank you so much again for watching, and you folks have yourselves a great week. Cheers.